You hear that? Woo, woo. I know you hear it. I know you hear it. Look at the color. The color said it all. No kitchen bouquet. None of that brown and liquid. None of that stuff. None of that stuff. Now I'm going to tell you something. This is what we cooking. Got some pork chops. Woo, woo. Get a little bit of that gravy down now. Now I'm going to tell you, it needs a little salt. But I'm not putting none. Y'all say I use too much salt. But I'm not going to sit here and taste it and tell you how good it is. I'm telling you, it needs some salt. All right. You want to learn how to make it? Watch the video. Watch the video. No, we're going to cook a very special dish. I'm going to do it a little different. I'm not going to do it the traditional way. Because, oh man, everybody else do it the traditional way. I'm trying to cut down on flour. Because when you grow up in Southeast Louisiana, you eat a lot of rice, a lot of flour, a lot of grits, a lot of pasta, and I'm trying to cut down on that. Come here. How you like that? We just flipped them, and I missed it on camera. I hit the wrong button. I don't want to rush it from browning. But let's just check. And that's the thing about the heat. You got to give it time. So now that these two shrunk, I can add one more to the pot. I don't have it because it got broke. But if you keep a four cup glass Pyrex measuring cup on the stove with water in it, when your spoons are used, you just put them back in there. And it'll keep your spoons cleaner when you're cooking. Less scrubbing when you're done. I don't want to rush it, but let's see where we at. That's good enough. That's good color. It's a good start. The reason you want the color is because you want the stuff in the bottom of the pot. The classic French, they call that gratte. The Cajun French, some of them call it grimy, some of them call it different things. But anyway, that's the flavor in the pot. Now, what I want to tell you about that flavor is, and that's why you cook bone-in stuff, because the bone gives it more collagen, the bone gives it more flavor, the bone gives it more fat, the bone gives it more flavor, the bone gives it more flavor, the bone gives it. Yeah, we're not on loop. We're not on loop. But the flavor of the bone flavors the stock. That's why when you make a stock, a broth, whatever, you always have bones. So when you cook without bones, you automatically cut your flavor. And now you got to go buy all that sodium stuff called uh, what's that sodium stuff called? Broth and stock in the bottle. You got to buy the bouillon. You got to buy all that because you're not using bone. So if you use bone, it's gonna be better. How y'all doing? Let's see where we at, huh? So I don't have no heat in this back corner. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's what we want. No heat in this back corner. So what I'll do, swap this one here. Something like that. Now we're gonna get ready to add our aromatics. As soon as we get a little color on that side. You know what's crazy? I keep smelling coffee. I forgot I brewed some. Now, one of the things about getting the pork chops or any protein out of the pan, you do not want to lose all of your juice that's coming out. Now, those last few could have been cooked a little bit more, but we're not going to complain about that. Now, see the fond in the pot? We're going to add some aromatics to that because we want the aromatics now to loosen up the fond that's in that pot. And I should have rethought this a little bit better because all of that juice went on down to the corner of that pot. And I'm going to tell you right now, we didn't want that to happen because we don't want the aromatics to really steam as much as we want them to saute. And I'm going to add 2 Thai chilies to this. That's not what I normally do, but that's what I'm doing. So stay tuned. Now we're going to get our trusty homemade custom spoon. Been having a spoon for almost 10 years. And we just want to look at the color of this already. Let me zoom in there. You see the color of this? Those onions have not caramelized at all. And I think personally, this is where you can make a mistake when you're sauteing. And once this fond or grimy, grat, whatever you want to call it, once that changes your onions a color, you could think the onions are caramelized, and they're not. They're not. They're nowhere near caramelized. All they did was took the color of the fond off the bottom of the pot. The grimy on the bottom of the pot. The grat on the bottom of the pot. That's all they did. And I can tell you right now, I don't have enough onions, bell pepper, celery. But you know what? This all I'm using. Now I don't want this to burn. I just want this to get some nice color and caramelize because the sweetness of this is going to help the dish to develop flavor. Now see this pork chop right here? This is a textbook pork chop for when you're making stew. And I can tell you when I was a little bitty boy, my mom's used to make some of the best stew you ever had. She is a great cook, and I love her very much. Talking about a selfless woman that ain't never withheld anything good from her kids, her husband, her family, her friends. You know, my mom has always been a mom to everybody in the neighborhood. You know, so special woman. And you know what? If you don't have your mama, she'll be a mama to you even to this day. If you don't have your grandma, she'll be a grandma to you even to this day. because that's just who she is, you know. Now I'm gonna take these Thai chilies out because very soon I'm gonna grind this up. See, this ain't even caramelized yet. It just picked up the brown off of us caramelizing the protein. Stay tuned. I'm gonna tell you something. I do not use kitchen bouquet. I don't use that brown and liquid. That's not I don't even have that stuff in the house because I do it the old fashioned way and I just take my time. And there's nothing wrong with taking your time. Your mama did it. Your mama did it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, so now we're gonna remove our aromatics from the pot. And I just added a little bit of water to the pot so that they would release where they were stuck. And honestly, if the camera quality would have been better, I would be inside still browning this, but I didn't want the whole house to get warm and I didn't want to smell these onions tomorrow. I love cooking outside. All right, so now what we're gonna do, I have a surprise. So I'm gonna sit this right here. And like I say, I want you to buy one of these. This is called the immersion blender. It's 2 parts. You twist it here, and this part goes into the vessel. And this part is your motor. So it's very easy to keep clean. And all you do is twist, unlock, put it in, twist, lock. And then it has this setting here, the button. It has 2 settings on here. 1, on, deux, trois. Yeah. So we're just gonna put it on 1. And this works good for everything. If you want to make an aioli, go to Jose L. Cook. Go to Jose L. Cook. And that's it. And I started using this because at some point my daughter, sous chef, she did not want, and then you take that loose like that, and now you could keep this clean. But sous chef did not want green or vegetables or aromatics. She didn't want to see none of that. So I bought this so that I could cook and she enjoyed the food. Now let's get us a light again. And I'm gonna just tell you a little secret. I love cooking with a Dutch oven more than I love Magnalite. But I grew up with Magnalite. My mama didn't cook in cast iron. That's something that I adopted on my own from watching a lot of Cajuns cook. And that's something I adopted on my own because I was always interested in cast iron because they last forever. They last forever. They got cast iron on this earth over 100 years old, 200 years old. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this has a lot of flavor and I didn't even season it because of what we did. Look at the coloration right there. That is amazing color. Now, let me get the next ingredient. Now, something I really like to do, I like to season my aromatics. So I have some salt right here, and I'm going to use a lot of it. So don't worry about that. Use a lot of salt. I love high blood pressure. I got some black pepper. I'm going to use a lot of pepper. That was only about a teaspoon or so. I hope. First lady don't like, she can't handle it no more. I'm going to use a little bit more white pepper. So that was like a tablespoon of that. Now I'm going to throw these 2 peppers in whole because that way people could see the pepper and either eat it or not eat it. And I wish you could smell this. Boy, that white pepper has took over. Now I'm going to put that there. I'm going to add some hot water to this. Now when you're cooking, the Japanese do this all the time. They'll heat their water up. They'll heat their water up in a different pot. And then they'll add it to the dish. So now I'm going to put my pork chops in there. Put them down like that. in the aromatics. And I wish you could smell it, but I'm smelling it for you. We could put a man on the moon, but we can't get smell-o-vision. You know. Now all of that little juice that's in the back of the down in the pot, like that. We're gonna leave that juice there. Now see that when we multiplied this and mixed it up and made it into billions of little molecules, we're gonna add all that flavor back to the pot. Now you see how this pork is covered with water? That's all you need. That's all you need. And we're just gonna let this stew until the cows come home. Now I'm gonna wash off this immersion blender, the bottom, to get all that flavor off of that. Now I'm gonna dump this. I should have saved that for later, but I didn't. You don't have to. Sometimes I like to, because that's the most concentrated flavor you're gonna have, and I like to add that at the end of the dish. So that's done. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look at this one more time, and I'm gonna see if I'm satisfied with two things, because I don't like to season my pot when I'm done cooking. This is the time to season it before you add the water to it. So I'm gonna just give it a stir on the bottom, move that all around. Now some people like to put the lid on it now, and I like to put the lid on it too. The only problem is, and I'm gonna tell you a little confession, I don't like to use my lid for my cast iron Dutch oven. And that is perfectly seasoned. It could use a little bit more salt, but I'm not gonna trip. So I'm gonna get a different pot lid and try to put that on there. Now I'm gonna cut this down to low and just let it go on a nice simmer for about, I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna tell you why I don't like to use my cast iron lid when I'm doing this particular application, like stewing. And the reason being, when you use the lid, all the lid does is you have to reseason the lid. And I'm already reseasoning the pot. I don't want to have to keep reseasoning the lid. And that's just my theory. You know, I enjoy not having to reseason the lid every time I cook. Because if you don't reseason that lid, and that lid gets any little bit of rust on it, it's gonna flavor your dish, and it's gonna make your dish have a metal taste. And so if you ever ate out of cast iron and it had a metallic taste, that's because somebody didn't season that dish properly. And as a result, you had an issue. Now I forgot to add one thing. I don't really need to add this, but I'm gonna add this because I want to add this. And I'm sure you're gonna understand why when you see it. And I'm watching Grandma Teresa also while I'm cooking. And that's one of my pages that I follow. And this is beautiful. This is a beautiful thing. And y'all already know what's in here. This is the roasted garlic. Let me show you that. And this is so good. So we added that roasted garlic to it. And now we're just going to let it simmer with the lid covered. And we're going to give it an hour, check it in an hour. We have enough liquid where I ain't worrying about it. I've done this so many times. I'm not worrying about the liquid steaming out. See that little hole? But I ain't worrying about that. So just stay tuned.